What is going on, everybody? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. Man, it is Saturday morning when you are seeing this and or listening to this. If you are on Apple or Spotify or something where you can't see my face right now, but I hope you have had a great week, just like I have, and I hope you are looking forward to a nice weekend with family, friends, or maybe even a relaxing one by yourself. So I've got my little sister, Gabriella. She flew in Friday, so yesterday. So she's spending the weekend with us, just hanging out for a little bit of her spring break. And I am really looking forward to that and just spending some time with her and getting to show her a little bit about our life that we get to live. So, but I wanted to today touch on a topic that is a little bit fitting because of the time of year for us, and as well as some things that's kind of been going on in my life, more professionally than personally. But it is the basically the difference and the comparison of how a mentality of an abundance mentality and a scarcity mentality works. All right, a lot of people will talk about different things such as like the law of attraction or, karma, what goes around comes around, things like that. And when it comes to an abundance mentality or a scarcity mentality, the root of it is whichever mentality you embody, you will experience that. So basically what I've come to learn is the more that I realize that there is plenty out there for everyone, more than me, more than I can handle, more than you can handle, more than any one person can handle of any one thing, that there's plenty to go around, that I have yet to actually encounter scarcity. And part of that, some people, the older folks that have been in business longer than I have may say, well, you haven't gone through a bad recession yet, or you haven't gone through this yet, you haven't gone through that yet. And that, as valid as that is, I can honestly say that I believe keep the abundance mentality, I will not experience scarcity because it's just what I attract. I attract abundance. I attract more than enough. I attract enough to share, to give out, to help provide for other people, so on and so forth. And a little bit of that, why it's relevant right now for me is in our industry, in the pavement maintenance industry, most of the country, other than maybe like, states like Florida, Texas, things like that, we're really starting to pick up our season. We haven't stopped all year. Like we don't shut down for the winter or anything like that, but we're starting to pick up. And there's already been a handful of projects that come across our plate that I say, hey, you know what, we're probably not the best fit for this. Call so and so. Or hey, if you want to, look at it this way, I can, connect you with this person. And I make those connections, I give those recommendations, those referrals, so on and so forth. And when I tell that to some of the older guys in the industry, and they kind of cock their heads a little bit and they're trying to understand why I'm giving out the name of a quote unquote competitor. And it really goes back to what I said. It's an abundance mentality. Like if I don't believe that I can take care of them the best that I can or the best that someone else could, why I would be doing that customer a disservice. And at the end of the day, I'd rather that customer refer me to maybe somebody who I can work with that, that they're like, man, Daniel didn't do this project, for us, but he was a super straightforward guy, was happy to give us the name of another company in the area, so on and so forth. Another situation is we had, there's a young man by the name of James up in Hickory, which is a town about, 40 minutes or so from us. And he has, I've met him through a network that I'm, connected with, a buddy of mine, Marvin's, Blacktop Success Group, the Blacktop Banner Success Group. And so I met this guy, and he's just starting his pavement maintenance company. And we hit it off. We got to talking. Obviously, we're in the same market, the same industry. I'm about 6 years ahead of him, and able to share what I've learned and some of the wins, some of the losses, things I would try to avoid or try to do more of, whatever it may be. And a couple of weeks ago, I mean, I spent about 2.5 hours on a Zoom call with him, just going over how we put proposals together, how we put aerial views together, how we do all these things that has taken me, 6 years to learn. I fed all this to him in a matter of, 2.5 hours. And I don't say that for a pat on the back or for maybe even someone who would want to scold me for it because they think that that's foolish or whatnot. But I say that because it's to really drive home the point that I believe with everything in me that an abundance mentality will always produce. It will always produce. It will always deliver. It will always take care of our needs. It will always, give us more than our needs. And because of that, we now get to have somebody else offering services in our market that maybe at this point in their venture that they're a little bit cheaper, than we can do it for because they don't have the overhead, they don't, whatever it may be. And it's something that we can use to help provide to the clients and make sure that they're taken care of to the best that we can do, right? And so there's another guy who I met him a couple years ago. He had started a line striping company in the area. I saw him painting a parking lot close by to my house one Saturday afternoon. So I stopped in and I introduced myself, gave him one of my cards. Here's my cell phone number. Call me if you ever need anything. And sure as heck, he called me a handful of times throughout that year, asking me questions about different types of products, different types of strategies, whatever it may be. And he said, and this is a guy who's been in the construction industry for a while in different, various different parts. He said, I've never met anybody that's so willing to like share and to talk and to help and teach and stuff, especially somebody who's in this market. And I told him the same thing. I was like, look, man, there's more work than any of us could handle to go around where we're at. And it's just been something that has never steered me wrong. It's allowed me to build relationships with people around me, in the industry, around the industry, maybe even people who aren't even in our industry that they just say, "Hey, I like your attitude. I like your mentality towards this." So at the end of the day, if you are always worried that there's never going to be enough, whether it comes to money, whether it becomes to food, whether it becomes to time, whether it becomes to business, employees, opportunities, whatever it may be, if you're always worried about that there's never going to be enough, then you can pretty much bet that there is never going to be enough. That's just how it works. I don't know why. I can't explain to you how all of that, that law of attraction works. But when you have that scarcity mentality, you are attracting scarcity. Your viewpoints on things, your perspectives on things will always be pessimistic. It will be on the negative side. The glass is half empty, right? If we use that example, the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. At the end of the day, if it's halfway, it's halfway. But you can choose to say, yes, it's still half full or it's half empty. If it's half empty, you're going to start thinking about all the things that are bad that you don't have, right? But if it's half full, you think of what you have and what opportunity there is, and so on and so forth. So anything that you're doing, whether it's like I said, from a month, from a relationship, a friendship, anything like that in your life, if you are able to frame it with an abundance mentality, you will have no choice but to reap the harvest and reap the rewards of abundance. Okay. That kind of leads me into a little bit of a somewhat like side topic of this. Me specifically in the industries that I've worked in over my life have typically all been more or less related to blue collar work. And at this point, the way I am seeing things, the way I've been talking with, property managers, investors, real estate developers, so on and so forth, anybody who is in a blue collar trade, there is nothing but abundance coming for you. That's not to say that, I'm not an economist. I can't predict the future of, all of the markets and things like that. But trade work will always have an abundance. The economy could be crashing down around you, but if your toilet breaks in your house, who are you going to need to call? A plumber, right? If you have something that's, made of metal and it's, a weld breaks, who are you going to need to call? Someone who can weld. For us, if you have a commercial property and you need ADA compliance and you are out of compliance, which is a federal regulation that can come with very hefty fines if you're not in compliance. Who are you going to call? Someone to paint the proper markings or to install the proper signage. All of that stuff is blue collar. All of that stuff is what is literally the backbone of America. A lot of people like to put the flash and the glitz and the glam on Wall Street or on the stock market people, and just these high rise buildings, where you go, everybody's in the stuffy suits and ties and all that stuff. And as valuable as those jobs are, as valuable as those positions are, as valuable as those individuals are, blue collar trades is what builds our country. It's what keeps us going. It's what keeps the infrastructure alive. It's what keeps for millions and millions of families. So, like I was saying, with abundance and scarcity, if you do things to put yourself in positions in life that are almost guaranteed to have abundance, you really are able to like double dip on that mentality. So, just a little bit of my 2 cents on that. I might be a little bit biased because I've spent many, many, many years in the blue collar world. I guess at this point, probably about 17 years in blue collar work or trades, of some sort. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really wouldn't. I'm sitting here and on my back porch in a t-shirt, a hat, and blue jeans, and that's pretty much what I wear about every day, and I love every bit of it. So I have had pretty good success so far in my life with an abundance mentality, and I'm very confident that you would be able to do the same. So if this is something you want to talk more about, feel free to drop a comment, shoot me a message, give me a call, send me a fax or a telegraph or, something like that if you want to chat. Otherwise, I will see you guys on Wednesday.